So off we go. So Tara
Oh.
Simon, welcome to the conversation with myself, Paul Houghton. Thank you so much for joining our channel today in the conversation. For people that don't know of Tara, you've probably been living under a rock, or you've not been on YouTube. Well, you're probably not watching this if you're not on YouTube, obviously. But Tara has been around for ages in terms of the musical scene, but her channel has been sort of blowing up a storm. From a marketing perspective, you're fast heading towards the million, not far off. On that, Tara. So I want a fanfare and fancy clips and everything when you hit the million.
You'll get it. Sure.
On that front. So you've been a phenomenal career so far. I love the fact that you obviously do vocal coaching, so incredibly serious and on your daily sort of profession. Incredibly gifted singer as well. I did see something. I don't know how much of it is right. Are you recording at the moment? Is that right?
Yeah.
You are?
I just got back from a 3-day vocal binge in Dallas just last night. I'm a little still sleep deprived. So
do I dare ask what a vocal binge is? I know I'm sort of veering already off topic, but what does a vocal binge entail for Tara?
Well, it's just I'm working on 3 singles, and so I was cutting lead vocals for each song, 1 a day. So it was 8-hour vocal sessions each day. Each day, and I was wondering as I was in the middle of it all, why did I write such hard songs to sing? But I did, and so then writing them is one thing, singing them is a totally different thing altogether, and 3 days in a row is something completely different altogether as well. So I was kind of having a little bit of a life contemplation there midway through, but we got through it, and I'm back in Florida now where I live, and just sort of getting my bearings again, playing catch up.
Obviously, see, we're on this area, and most people like myself don't know what it's like to do a vocal binge, and if I talk too much, that's usually enough for most people. So I'm not sure anybody in the world really would ever want me to sing front. Karaoke's one too many for most people. Do you actually look further ahead when you're writing? Do you look to what it's going to be like when you're actually recording it, or do you just busy just doing the lyrics?
No, I definitely, I used to just be busy about making the song, when I was younger and less experienced, but it's something I also teach my artists. You want the song to sing well for 2 reasons. And what I mean by sing well is you want the lyrics and the melody to match in a way that is vocally sustainable and yet stylistically pleasing to the listener's ear, but also to your voice. And so it's a very fine balance between, like for instance, here's an application example. Like if I'm going to hit an E, if I'm going to belt an E5, which is kind of like the end of the money note section, like all the songs that you want to sing, that your big singers like Jennifer Hudson sings and Celine Dion and Christine, they all hit these big high, notes. And if I'm going to hit a note like that, I really don't want to write a word that makes me sing that note on an E vowel or an oo vowel, because those are closed mouth vowels. They're very difficult to sing because any extreme note, high or low, I always say needs more space and support. Well, you can't have space on an E or an oo without changing the integrity of the vowel. And this is a whole voice lesson right now. But like when I write,
amazing.
I'm trying to be conscientious at least of, can I create my rhyming pattern to where that high note ends up being sung on a word that has a more open mouth vowel. So I am thinking ahead, and yes, I did do that in those songs, but I was like, oh yeah, they're great vowels. So I'll just like add a bunch of the high notes in. And so, and it was, but like, I also didn't anticipate recording leads to all 3 songs each day, like in a row. I thought it was going to go down differently, but it was what it was. And it actually turned out great. And I did rely heavily on what I preach. I practiced, during those 3 days, and you get through it. It's also just a matter of mastering your craft. I have so many hours into this thing called singing, and I know my voice enough to where the second I make a first sound in the morning, I know how my day's going to go. Like I know how my voice is going to perform that day based on how I first sound that morning, how my voice feels.
And how because obviously this is a completely different field for myself, so I'm way out of my comfort zone on this one, so I'm going to wing it. But I can talk from my perspective. I can wake up and, for whatever reason, have a headache, or just have not necessarily the same level of focus, I suppose, as for whatever reason. It just may have just been the stress of a month or pressure of the previous day or something that's happened, and you get through it. But equally, I don't have to produce a song. Always maybe rearrange something or do part of something, or but obviously for yourself, when you're coming into a day where your chords are tired, or you just feel that this is going to be really hard to get through this, but equally you want to complete it without it being exactly where you want it to be, if that makes sense. It's a bit like me submitting a proposal to something. I wouldn't send it over unless I thought it had a good chance of me succeeding. But equally for yourself, how hard is it to get through those tough days where you're not necessarily, it's not going to be easy today, it's going to be a tough day to grind out?
Yeah, well, that was the last day for me. And that's all about vocal strategy then at that point, and vocal mapping. So if I know, you're freshest at the beginning. So if I know that, and I know that I only have a certain amount of vocal dollars for that day, and I'm not like, in a plethora of them that day for whatever reason, then I will usually warm up my voice, and then I'll do the hardest part first and just get it out of the way. If I don't get what I need, then I'll switch to, say, a verse, something easier, and take like an active vocal break. And then I'll go back again and try to hit it again and get what I need. Whereas, day 1 and day 2 of this particular vocal binge, I started with the hardest, but I slammed that for like 2 hours. I just kept repeating and repeating and repeating until I got the take that I wanted. And I knew that I could continue in that way. But day 3, I started to feel a little under the weather, frankly. When I woke up, I was kind of allergic to where I was staying. And I'm like, I got to really be careful today. Not just because, look, it's not just about that take. It's about my voice as my career and my brand. So, I mean, even if I could, repeat over and over, like day 1 and day 2 on day 3, if I wasn't feeling well, and just push through, I'm not going to do that, because I'm not only concerned about getting a great take for that song. I'm concerned about my voice first and foremost. Right. Yeah. And I don't run it into the ground and create or cause undue or unnecessary damage. So for me, that at that point, it's just about really singing smarter, not harder. I always try to, but those days I'm extra strategic about what I choose to sing, when, and how much I choose to sing.
Who knew I'd be coming into this thinking about sort of song, singing strategy, but it's, you probably have more of a strategy to your day than, probably I do to some extent. I don't, let me get wrong, if any clients listen, I do have a complete plan for the day before they all sort of leave me. But you are the person that governs your performance and how you navigate that day, and how you feel. And it's almost like, I had one thing going in my head that I had the picture of you sort of coming out your front door, sort of ready to sing like Celine Dion, and then finishing the day like Barry White. In a nice way. I mean, I'm obviously in my naive way, but I mean it jokingly, in terms of
it's not bad.
Obviously you're coming towards the end of a day where, obviously you're not, like you say, you're planning to ascend. And I think that's amazing. And for people that are really looking to get into this world or this career in whatever form that takes, that has to come from so many years of experience for yourself. So who teaches you that experience? It'd be great to see where you sort of started out and how you got into this sort of line of work, really.
So, I mean, I've been singing on stage since I was 3. If you ask my mother, I was singing in my crib at 10 months. I don't exaggerate. I may add some months to that if I were you, but that's what she says. So I was singing on stage and performing before I ever took lessons, actually. And my parents are not in the music industry. They're just really hardworking entrepreneurs themselves. And so when I first took a voice lesson, I was like 7, probably turning 8. Okay. And that voice teacher, her name was Angela Bell. And over the years, I've taken from some pretty high profile people. I took from Christina Aguilera's vocal coach. I took from people that were leads in the Metropolitan Opera, because I'm classically trained as a coloratura as well. I took from, famous jazz coaches. I mean, I really kind of ran the gamut as far as coaching, being coached myself was concerned. But the one who made the most impact and the one who did the most for my voice was Angela Bell, from her house in a neighborhood from where I lived. She was just amazing. She really groomed my voice, taught me how to sing big and sing healthy at the same time. She explained it in a way that wasn't hard to understand or pedagogically stuffy. You know, like, just because you know that stuff doesn't mean you should say those words in a lesson, because you don't know what I'm saying. And I just found that to be very counterproductive with a lot of the elite coaches that I took from. And as a coach, I learned what not to do through them, to be honest, because it wasn't approachable. It wasn't digestible as a student. And so I really learned a lot of what to do through Angela. And she was a singer-songwriter herself, loved to sing worship music, still does. And I really, my voice really got refined and grew under her instruction. And I will say, though, that even before her and after, during training growing up, I mean, I instinctively operated a lot of the right things in my voice. It was sort of just there. And that's where gifting, and I believe it comes from God, does come from. Just that gifting of that innate knowing. Like, it's someone who, I equate it to someone who just has a really good sense of direction. Like, they just know that it's supposed to be right. I get lost in my own neighborhood. I don't have that. Okay. But I just know that I need to hit that note that way. And I just know what my voice is going to do if I do X instead of Y. And I just know that if I use my body and bend this certain way, that I'm going to get this texture in my voice singing live. It's just this over time and over experimentation, over just this giftedness of knowing. I know.
In the world that we're in now, there's so many buzzwords that have been around for so long that if you say it, you feel like not again. But I mean, I often say to people that much of life is about awareness of yourself as much as awareness of everything else that's around you as well. So I'll be watching someone like yourself and be really intrigued, apart from just your natural talent and your humorous clips that you put up there now. And I'm split between music reviews, your funny clips. And so I was sitting there, so I was like, which one do I start on first? I've got, the more recent ones have me obviously laughing aloud. And I've got your, I loved it when your mum, the one where your mum didn't follow you.
Can you believe that? It's true. That's not faked. Like, she does not. My fans that are super fans, they know to like DM my mother things of note, because she like, it's ridiculous.
Oh, it's priceless. We'll obviously circle back to obviously a lot of your achievements, but in terms of YouTube, were you doing YouTube pre X Factor? So was it a sort of a pre X Factor decision, or was it post X Factor?
No, so I had my YouTube channel. I think I started it maybe like right after X Factor. I think I might have made one post or something. Like, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. It wasn't definitely for the intention of what I'm doing for now. In fact, I have to say, like, people have had me on their podcast. The president of my son's school wanted to meet with me because they have a YouTube channel. Everybody wants to know, like, hey, tell me what you did. Like, what's your secret sauce? And I'm like, I am so sorry to disappoint you. I wish I had this genius master plan that I totally executed and rocked out, and like, here you go. Here's my thing. I promise you it was a mistake. Like, I didn't mean to do this. But I will say this, I'm really good at recognizing doors that open in my life and walking through them. And I'm also really good at making peace with ones I want to open that don't, and walking away from them. So that part was intentional. So I was doing, my channel is old, quote unquote, but I really only started to become active on my channel coming up on 4 years ago now. I think maybe 4 years ago this summer has it been 4 years. And 4 years ago, around this time, I was doing content for Instagram. And at the end of the shoot one day, my videographer at the time said, hey, we've got more time. Do you want to like shoot something longer format for YouTube? And I always say yes. As a theater major, you always say yes. I'm like, sure, what? And he was like, why don't you react to something? I'm like, that's stupid. Who would watch that? And he was like, well, I don't know. Like, just do what you do in voice lessons. I'm like, well, I can do that. I mean, I critique people's voices all day long. I observe them. Sure. And I think I did like Tori Kelly or someone like that. I just picked a random video and I reacted to it. And I started getting like I mean, like thousands of subscribers a month, just out of nowhere, and thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of views in a video. And I'm like, this is working. We should probably keep doing this. Whatever. And that's all I did. I mean, I started at 2 reactions a week. I started to then, and I'm creative, right? So like, as I said, oh, this is working, let me actually put some thought and energy to it. I started to think of original series like my Sing Better in Seconds series, which right now is paused, but I did that. I started with One Take Wonders, which is, hey, nobody sings without autotune or multiple comps anymore. Let me show you what it's like as a singer to sing a whole song all the way through, no comps, no autotune. That's One Take Wonders. I also came up with a series called Throne Room. And by the time all these new ideas came out, I was posting like 7 videos a week for like a year and a half, on top of being a single mom, running my business, running my digital courses, developing a vocal health line, starting a record label, releasing singles. I mean, it was, starting a podcast and writing a book.
Wow. So I feel like I should pass you a glass of wine.
If I drank, I'd drink it. I mean, I drink a little bit. Yeah, I really have burnt myself straight the heck out. And really was quite sick actually for the last 7 months. And I had to just really take a break and take stock. And I really just came to a place where I was spinning so fast, I didn't even remember what actual rest was like. Even when I slept, I didn't really rest. I was like in my bed thinking of new series to do on YouTube and plotting my plan to take over the world, So YouTube was an accident that turned into this really joyous, impactful, significant thing that I can connect to multiple people around the world in a way that is musical, but more than that. Like, music is the catalyst, but really my purpose on YouTube and in life is through music to show people that they matter. It's really at the end of the what I'm about is like, I see you, you are seen, you are heard, you are loved, and you matter, and your voice deserves to be heard. So like when people that want to sing feel like they can't, it's very strange. There's this psychological thing that happens where they feel marginalized and they feel mute. Like, they can speak, but they don't feel like they deserve to be heard. And so therefore they walk around with this, it's almost like this cloak on them where they see everybody else, but they don't feel seen. And so my job is to turn their voice on and to set realistic expectations, to not be dishonest and say you're amazing, you're going to win a Grammy when you never will. That's not my job. My job is to take realistic goals, realistic expectations, be honest with you and from a place of love and say, yeah, like we can definitely improve these things. And by the way, right now, even as you are, you matter. Like, your voice deserves to be heard. And I feel like that's so life-giving for people to experience. And I don't think, unfortunately, I know that that's not something that easily is given to people on a daily basis. So I just do my best to be that to as many people as I can.
Fascinating to hear what you're bringing to the table for, I suppose, would be your community, your fans, your community, whichever way you want to use the channel, but it really is your own community.
Like a family, to be honest, at this point, which is so funny because I never thought when they wanted to be named, and I was like, what do you mean you want to be named? Like, we need a name. Your name. Like, what are you talking about? And now they're the terabytes. And it really, by their request, right? But like, it really did become a family online and a community where people, I recognize their handles. I respond to their comments. Some of them have kind of infiltrated their way into like a sort of inner circle. And it's kind of really cool. It's just really a blessing to be able to bless others and to, again, like, make mattering matter.
People said to me, it's like, how do you get to know these people? I was like, to some extent, I'm just me. I know that sounds really, really boring, and but ultimately I'm just me, and maybe a little bit more out there sometimes, and I maybe push myself out there at risk of getting no's and these different things.
Yeah.
I look at it like, look, no is the bedfellow of yes. And so ultimately, look, you get, if you want to get yeses, you're going to get 1,000 no's to every one yes. And I know that that's my mindset going in. I know the realities of it, so it doesn't faze me. Right. And I also don't go in with any grandeur or expectation that I'm owed anything, you know. So I come in with a gratitude of, if they're happy to spare this time, I will do my utmost to make it a win-win for everybody. And so everything I do, I come with the viewpoint that if it's a win-win, it's a great situation for all parties, whatever you do in life. And so that tends to build good relations. Ultimately, who would have thought a win-win for everybody? You know, everyone would be happy. It's not rocket science, is it, really, on that side?
Right.
But we're in a world where, you know, not everybody looks at it that way, do they? But I'm conscious of time for yourself, Tara, so we're going to fast track to X Factor.
Okay.
And the funny thing is that you have so much positivity, and you see the reviews, and I've seen your performances were superb. Had such amazing reviews, and sometimes I'm left scratching my head. He shows that how certain people don't get into the final five or whatever. And I know it's not as simplistic as that, but you were literally amazing. Do you ever get feedback when you don't go through, to, you know, off camera? Do they ever say, "Oh, it was because of this," or is it just left for you to try and work it out yourself?
No, what people need to understand about reality television is that it is not reality television, and you are a character, they are a character. There is really no the premise of the show is to build a star, right? But that is the outward premise of the show. The true premise of the show is to have a great show, to make a lot of money, and to get good ratings. And how to get good ratings? Well, cause people to care. How to cause people to care? Put some humanity into it. Make it like we're going to change. That's not what it is, though. And so much so, I mean, take The Voice, for instance. By the time you're watching The Voice on television, they have already been in the middle of their nationwide search for the next year or the next season. They're not interested in developing artists. They're interested in the show. You're a cog in the wheel. And the sooner you understand that, the better you will be able to capitalize off of the opportunity of that good HD quality footage and that 15 seconds of being on national television or wherever. That's really all it is. And so anybody that thinks it's more is exactly the type of avatar that the TV show wants sitting in their house watching at night, because they don't question if that was comped. They don't question if that was in context. They just take what they see on the television as truth, and they're the perfect audience. But if you really, I mean, if you want to know what it was like, then look at me reacting to myself on X Factor on my YouTube channel. I kind of break down like, okay, pause. This is what they did here. This is, you know, and you can really get a bird's eye view of the realness that was truly the reality, not what you saw. Because really, unfortunately, even the vocal takes you saw were not the whole thing. You didn't see what my experience vocally on that show was actually much better than what you saw on the clips.
I mean, I would imagine if I was a singer, which obviously not, if I was a singer, I would be tapping into ex-contestants, especially someone obviously yourself that blossomed since then, but you're obviously talented before anyway. If I was savvy enough in the industry, I'd be go, right, I'm going to go and have a meeting, if I could, with somebody like yourself before I go on, or if I'm at a certain stage, see if I can get a phone call with somebody like yourself where I can tap into that experience and expertise to really help guide me through what it is, I suppose, you know, like you say, that the unique world that it is. Essentially, if you're new to it, which most people will be if it's their first time around, it would be a very shrewd maneuver for any person who's got that talent to really be hitting up people like yourself. And ultimately, look, you've got the talent, you know, you've got the talent. So getting to the top 24 is phenomenal. And when you look at the amount of amazing contestants that have gone on to amazing careers that essentially never got anywhere near the top 10 on shows around the world, it just has, like you say, it is just one part of, yeah, it's great if you do get there because you get the push beyond all pushes to get you in almost like a rocket to the moon, isn't it, in terms of your career? But that comes with pluses and minuses. For everyone that's had a phenomenal career, there's ones that have had, you know, it's crashed afterwards because it's gone so fast, so quickly. It's almost like an uncontrollable juggernaut that is very hard, isn't it? You know, and it takes a certain person that can continue with that sort of speed. So in terms of yourself coming up, Tara, I know you've got to go and pick up your little one, so I'm feeling really bad if you're going to be late. But in terms of, you know, you're obviously recording, do we have any dates when we can pin the ears back out and really listen to this amazing talent?
No, I'm not putting dates because there's some back end, music industry stuff that has to happen first. And the music's not even finished yet. So I would say this year for sure. I just am not going to say when yet because frankly, I just don't know. And I like to over promise, under promise and over deliver. I always say it right. In the past 2 weeks when I say that, because I say I'm getting it reversed, but I like to under promise and over deliver and on that. And so you'll know, I'll do a good job at, blitzing the notice before it really comes out, but it's going to be a little while. I'm taking my time.
Fantastic. Well, as long as you're not going to be asking me to do any backing singers, because that really is not going to be helpful to anybody. Really insightful. You brought everything that I wanted to the audience and to really give them an insight into yourself, but in insight, a pure insight into the career and mindset as well, and not just the glitz and glamour elements. For me, it's fascinating to hear the strategy of your day and the work ethic and all those different elements. And it's amazing how in line most people that are very successful are across industries, more similar than you would ever think. And obviously, when I sort of pin back and listen, I'm like, wow, it's exactly the same as that person. And it's like, I mean, it's dressed up in a different bow and a different box.
Yeah.
But equally, when you sit back and really listen, it's like, it really is fascinating. And I think people that are looking to forge a career into your sort of line of work, whether they're looking to build in YouTube or go into singing or coaching or whatever it is, if they take some of the snippets of advice that you've put out today, then hopefully that really bodes them well for their careers as well. So Tara, you've been an absolute superstar.
Thanks, Paul. I really appreciate you having me on. And for those listening, discipline is really the word that we've been hedging around with that through line and betting on yourself. Even in business, I hire coaches to give me a bird's eye view, give me perspective, new insights, and takes on different subjects. And so, if you're someone who is thinking, I so resonate with feeling like I don't have a voice or like my voice doesn't matter, you are worth the effort. And so whether it's my studio or someone else's, I just encourage you to find someone, and it could be us, that's truly worth their salt, and invest in yourself to just turn your voice on so that you feel like you have the right to be heard. Because a lot of people, when they don't train, they feel like, well, they haven't worked for it, so they don't have the right to be heard. And it is a birthright. It's not something that you should have to work for. But if you do work for it, you will improve, because the voice is a muscle and it can improve. You do not have to be born like me, knowing how to sing, like my mom said, at 10 months old. It can improve. And with training, my voice did improve even more so. So I just encourage anybody listening, if you want to check us out, because you want to take from someone who can actually sing. There's a lot of vocal coaches out there. Make sure you vet them. Make sure that they are sounding the way you want to sound. You wouldn't take personal training from someone who has weight problems. You would take personal training from someone who's got a six-pack, because you want that too. So take from someone who's just a real, for lack of a better word, badass singer and knows how to coach. And if you want to look us up, you can go to Tara Simon Studios. You can also find pretty much anything you need on my channel on YouTube in the description box. We've got 8-week courses, and we coach all over the world thanks to YouTube and technology. I mean, my coaches and I are online like this all day, every day, in different time zones, and we represent every continent. And like you said, Paul, a lot of students, they do come to us because of our experience with these shows. And we do get students on. We have students that have been on every single one of those shows and placed. And when it's time for them to leave too, because of the contracts, we make sure that they're gone as well. It's sometimes knowing to leave is just as important as knowing how to get on them in the first place. So I just hope that anybody that's listening is encouraged and is given hope. Like, you don't have to stay where you are. There's always in life room for improvement in anything, and in voice, it's no different. And thanks for having me.
No, Tara, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'm going to let you go and pick up your little boy now. So, Tara, thank you so much for today, and you have a great rest of your day.
You too. God bless you.
Thanks, Tara.
Bye.